Well, I wasn't supposed to be. My mother had a problem having me. She had my sister, and that was okay. But there was some confusion in her makeup, and after she thought she had appendicitis, they opened her up and found out me. She wasn't feeling well.
Oh.
She was pregnant and didn't know it. Oh well, I was 8.5 months. I was born very early.
Okay.
She was born in December. I was born the next November.
Oh my goodness.
So we were actually sort of twins for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
the same age. But those days, they knew very little about insides, and they didn't take some things seriously. My sister had encephalitis, sleeping sickness,
Yeah.
which was a hideous thing, and she went through a series of boils. She would take my mother would give her a pillow to sit on in school. Of course, she hid it. She just didn't want anybody else to know she was using a pillow to sit on.
Oh.
But I think at that time I got to know that my sister was very important. And I think that probably stayed with me.
Do you think that's why they felt like she was important? Because she had these, sicknesses, sleeping sickness and stuff?
Well, sleeping sickness was a disease you got, and you did go into a sort of a coma. So she got the attention,
Yeah.
and probably as a child, I missed it.
Yeah.
Or looked for it. I don't know. As a child, you don't say, "Hey, I am being left behind." But I was, I guess. So it was with my father, and he would take me on the weekends, and we would go to visit Audie. Audie was in the bed, and they would wash her up in the morning, and wrap a rosary around her fingers. And she didn't talk, but they sort of almost worshipped her. My father came from England, and he was sponsored by his cousin. And his cousin was there in Pittsburgh. So my father started off working in the mill, and it was good money for a while, but this was a depression, and the mills closed. So my father worked for a neighbor who was owned a packing house. Roosevelt thought that to even prices, he destroyed a lot of animals.
Oh.
And you would destroy a cow, and the cow might be pregnant, and it opened up when it was killed, and the small animal would go down the drain. The dad's job was to pull it up out of the drain.
Oh my goodness.
But it was a job.
Yeah.
And it was money.
Yeah.
And we had neighbors that went to church, and they would take us. My mother was Catholic. My father was not. But
Was he Church of England?
no, his dad used to preach on the street corner, and he was a local sort of preacher. But then somebody got wise to the fact they didn't have a real preacher there, so they brought one in, and he lost his sometime job. So he was very anti. he lost his attitude too. I was named Joanne because my father first was Joe and my mother Ann. But I did a lot with my father. We would start off on a Saturday morning, and I'd get to sit in the front seat. Otherwise, my sister sat in the front seat. That's very, very important for a little kid. So we would go see Audie. She was an aunt of some sort. We visited people, and I looked at people's houses. I was well aware of walking into a house and they had a box, a very fancy little box on the shelf, and it had a brush and a comb, and everybody used it. So when you came in the house, you could look sharp, feel sharp. But my father would start a game of something, probably pool, and he would take me, and I would always take a girlfriend because I wanted someone to be with me. And so we would set pins and do some pinball, we should call it, I think. Anyway, it was fun. And then I went to
You set pins for bowling?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It had a little wire that came up through the floor, and the pin would sit on that. It was not an automatic. And they had pin boys. And that was fun because we talked to boys.
Oh.
But and then he had to finish his game, so we would go in. This was Pittsburgh. This was, I can't think of the name. Anyway, it was a very big museum, and they had books. It was all books. It was the library, and my friend and I would go and pick a book and read a book too. So we weren't just all fun and games. We found something that we didn't have at home. I don't remember reading a book at home at all. But I did do things with my dad. I went to the ball games, baseball. I remember first baseman was somebody green. He was good. We liked him.
Oh.
Why I don't know, but probably the cheapest seats. But I did things with my dad that my mother had no idea probably what we were doing. But it split us up as a couple. I would do something and without my sister. She would do something without me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that probably made it so that she was more with my mother and I was with my dad.
Were you close to your dad?
I guess at that time I was. It was later when I figured out that drinking came in. And he was an alcoholic.
When did he start drinking?
Oh, I think he drank when he came over.
From England?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it was part of life.
Yeah.
But he made it a very active part of life. But he was always a fun drinker. I mean, he was. We had people. I remember a couple. They were not teenagers, but early 20s. They would come over and sit and talk with him. He was very entertaining. And my mother was.
Hmm.
She played jacks. You played jacks?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, well, would sit on the living room floor, and I had no idea who was there. Pat and I would go out on our dates and step over people. There was one fellow had a beautiful figurine on a gasoline tank that was in the front, but it had a wonderful woman who was. Her dress was blowing off on the wind.
Is this on a car?
Yeah, a car.
Okay.
But it was so fancy. He would bring it in the house, so somebody wouldn't take it. They'd watch them play jacks, and my dad would go through a six-pack and a bottle of wine. And at first he was fun,
Yeah.
and then he was not fun.
Hmm.
My sister learned to drive so she could pick him up from the bars. I never learned to drive because he didn't have the time to teach me. So I would drive home with a man thoroughly drunk, and we would miss the other cars. We would miss the everything.
So he was driving.
Yeah, oh good, oh yes. And we pulled into the neighbor's parking place one night, and someone came out and said, "May I help you?" And I was so embarrassed. Drunks really affect children terribly, heavy duty, and after a while, he's lost one job after another, and more problems.
How did that affect your relationship with him, being so close to him all those years?
I think I've watched him going downhill. One night, my mother thought she was so funny. She had a shot glass and she slurred her words when we came in the room, and my sister and I burst into tears.
Hmm.
So it affected both of us. But I grew up, and they moved into Milwaukee, and I went to a high school that was good, really good.
Is that in Shoreview?
Yes, Shorewood.
Or Shorewood, yeah.
Yeah. And Pat had 1 year, and I had 2 years, because we were. I was a junior, she was a senior.
How did you like Shorewood?
I adored it. It gave me everything.
Like what?
I had finally got an art class.
Is that where you started art?
Well, I must have done things on my own.
Okay.
Because I did it. And so I drew for the school magazine, and they wanted me to do it for my senior year. And there was another girl who was good, and I said no. And I figured I had enough recognition that she needed it.
So they asked you to do what?
Do you draw the drawings for your yearbook?
Oh, okay. And you
Yeah.
let the other girl do it.
Uh-huh.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, so now you're out of high school. Anything else in high school that stood out? Any boys that were real interesting?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Be still my heart.
Who stole your heart?
I said, be still my heart.
Oh,
If you're not in love in high school, you're just yeah. But I played games, and my sister helped me. If my boyfriend didn't take me to the dance, which I thought he should have, why then I would get my sister to get me a date. She went with a fellow pretty steady. I'd go to the dance, but not with him.
Oh, so wait, you went to a dance with a guy and then you would just ignore him the whole night?
No. But when I think of it, I was not nice to him. I didn't really know him. You never think of somebody else in high school.
Yeah.
Everything is you. Everything is who you are, what you're doing.
Okay, so now you get out of high school and then what?
Then I had nothing to do. I started college. There's a college, actually it was 6 blocks away. I could walk it.
What college was that?
It was an UWM,
Oh,
and it was I was taking art. I had 1 semester, and figured my mother didn't have the money for that. It was $500.
which back then was a lot.
Yes, much more than we had. And I decided I can't do this to my mother.
Yeah.
By that time I realized that my mother was carrying a heavy load. So I got a job. And one of the girls at school, and I went and got a job, and we had to walk across a catwalk across an industrial area, and all the fellows would whistle at us, and we'd primp and make noises. But I just picked money up whenever I could.
What kind of jobs?
One was we were working a silk screen, making posters for outside. And the other was making dolls, little Chinese girls, and we were painting them.
This is for companies?
Yeah, but it was in a factory,
Yeah.
and it was cold. And then I met Mr. Wonderful.
Okay, tell me all about it.
Oh, I can't do that. He was supposed to go out with my sister.
Yeah.
My sister, but followed her. She was dating pretty steady with him, and she she said, "Why don't you take my sister?" So I dressed up. I really overdressed, and met Bud and Roxy.
I remember them.
Yes, she was a rich girl from I don't know, some place I had no idea, and she went to college, and she was such fun. But she was Swede's girlfriend, and they eventually married within a year or so. I went with Swede. It was terrible. On a date night, I didn't drink. When I did drink that night, I had a glass of beer.
Uh-oh.
I went to the bathroom maybe 10 times. I got so the piano player was playing, "I Know Where You're Going." Everybody in the place knew where I was going.
Great first date. A great first date.
Oh, it's terrible. I don't know why. But he lived, his mother lived up the block from me. And he was unpacking because he had just graduated from Ripon. And we ran into each other and started dating. But he went off to war. And he had been on Tinian, and they had an old day listed, and went and bombed Japan. by that time he was in the medical corps, and he was the Seabees. At that time, when they took an island, they would put down metal runways for the airplanes, and that was done by the Seabees. So when you get in the Seabees, that means you're right in the first line.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have to. The big bomb came along. And,
now, before we go any further with that,
yes.
what did you see in Dad that was so special for you? I mean, why did you decide to continue after that terrible first date?
Well, the terrible first date was probably me. And he did ask me out. Probably because nobody else asked me out. By that time, all the friends that we knew from high school were in college.
Mm-hmm.
But the man I loved. I mean, really was love. And
Wasn't his name Dan?
oh yes, pitter pat.
Okay.
There's nothing worse than a girl in love in high school. But, he was interested in someone else. I don't understand that.
Oh.
But Dan was Donald was easy to be with.
Mm-hmm.
He was ready to get settled down, have a family, and I had nothing. I got married. We lived in the back room of the dentist's office. I helped with
What city was this?
This was Milwaukee.
Okay.
In the Shorewood area.
Okay.
And I helped the dentist. We had to hide a bed. And I scrubbed my first floor. My mother did all the work. And
Who did all the work?
my mother did all the work for us.
No.
She helped me do this, helped me do that. And I was not taught. I guess she thought that was her duty.
Yeah.
And we allowed that. So, but she was probably closer to my sister because when I was out playing pool with my father, I was going out with him.
Yeah.
And I don't think they realized the split of who was where with whom.
Yeah. Okay, so Dad just got finished with the war. Well, Japan had surrendered, and then what?
And what? He got a job selling.
So he came back to the States right away?
It took a month to get from he was in Japan. And he was stationed there in Iwo Jima on
Yeah.
yeah, very close, the hospital. And
No, I remember hearing that he took care of a lot of soldiers who had been wounded.
yeah, he probably did, but he doesn't talk about it or didn't talk about it. But he talked about the fact that they gave cigarettes to the soldiers. Always, soldiers, everybody in the service got cigarettes.
No.
And he would save them up and go into town and do some trading and come back with beer. And but the Seabees had had officials.
Oh.
They'd catch him and they'd take his beer. But he saw MacArthur coming out of his main building. That he he was a man of the world.
Yeah.
He knew things I didn't. I had no concept of anything but my Shorewood in high school, and 1 year. And the high school was pretty close to 1 year of college,
Mhm.
and I didn't get back into college. I did. Well, I would take classes that were presented, whether it was sewing or painting or anything. I was always in a class
Mhm.
by myself, I guess. But the women were taken care of. I think maybe they all figured that the women were in need of help
Mm.
more than just doing washing and then I got pregnant pretty fast after.
So you skipped over getting married.
Oh, I forgot to
Oh, did you get pregnant before you got married, Mother? With Mark?
maybe
This is new information for the family.
yes, thank you for the family. And which one was first? No, I was married and then got pregnant. The boys came back from hell.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about what they did, some of them, or some didn't come back, but they immediately wanted to have a job,
Yeah.
get settled, and get married and
Yeah.
start a family.
Dad wanted to get married and start a family.
Housing, there was we lived in an apartment, and it was like put together by paper and glue.
Yeah.
The breeze would come through the windows. But it lasted, I think, for 20 years. And then Sweetie got sick. He had, can't remember the name of it. There was
Some kind of heart disease?
yeah, something.
Is this when I was born?
Endocarditis,
Okay.
swelling of the heart muscle.
Okay.
And so I had a baby, a son. My mother was in the hospital dying of cancer. My husband was in the hospital with an endocarditis. And I'd have to go through a whole room of, what did they call those? They pumped air into people who had polio. Not polio. It was something else. They were in my iron lungs. And I was taking my big fat tummy and went to see my husband. So it was pretty dreary. But he lost his job. He didn't lose it. They were going to give him some other job. And he said no.
Oh.
That was a give, but not.
What job was that?
He was selling.
Was that when he was selling vacuum cleaners?
No, not a vacuum cleaner. He said he quit his job because it was just a gimme, and he didn't want that.
Okay.
So he went out and came back in and he said, "This is going to be neat." And I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm going door to door, selling." What the heck it was? I can't remember what they were selling. Anyway, full of brushes.
Oh yes, full
Yeah.
of brushes. Yes.
And but he said, "Geez, some of these women are really good looking, you know." And I'm sitting there looking at my big fat tummy.
And what did he say about the women? Okay. It ended right when you were talking about when you were in the hospital, having me as a baby, and Dad in the hospital at the same time. Okay, so after that, Mark was what?
Everybody was having babies.
Yes.
Doctors were known to how many babies they had. I mean, it was ridiculous. And that when were the when you were trying to get rid of your baby, uh, the hallways were crowded. The people in the hallway, they'd pick somebody up and take her in for the delivery, and it was madness. But we all went through it. It was part of the game.
Yeah. Now, when did you move to Cedarburg?
I don't know. I don't know dates.
Okay, it's 6 years before I was 6th grade. For some reason I remember that, so I was probably 1st grade, so probably about 4 years old. I'm guessing 1956. Somewhere around there.
Maybe.
So, anything happened before that? What, you were living in Shorewood with Dad, having kids, and then you moved to Cedarburg.
We moved to Cedarburg in an old farmhouse,
Yes.
and it was wonderful.
That's a nice house. Little tiny house.
It was.
The people who live there now could not believe that somebody once lived there with 7 kids.
Well, at the time when we left it, they couldn't believe it. So,
Yes.
so somebody came in with going out with 7. And when we moved into Whitefish Bay, the people next door had 7.
Yes.
And the realtor did not tell the people in the neighborhood that 7 more were coming in.
Yes. Okay, anything happened in those 6 years we lived in Cedarburg? Anything interesting?
Oh, everything, every day. You kids would bring home a lizard that you found in the window well for lunch, and we'd have to say that he goes back to his mother. Well, the time I put the stove on and it started smoking, I opened the door and a mouse came out, little sunburned, that went down the air return, and the cat went in. And the time we had the lion.
Yeah. Now, how did that work out, Dad? How did you get a lion cub?
Oh, he was with an ad agency, and he called and said, "Do you want one for a while?" And I couldn't think of anything. Why not?
Yeah.
But then I realized there was something to this. I didn't have a sandbox for him.
Oh.
But we did take him into the vet, and he got a bath. And he got his picture in the paper, the local paper.
Yeah.
It was day to day.
Lots of dogs, lots of cats, lots of dogs. They just, for some reason, they just come and go.
Sometimes.
They just disappear. We never knew why.
I think your dad shuffled some of them off. I one Easter I have 2 old bird cages, and so I got 2 nests and 2 pair of birds, and I fixed it up and put it in your room. And you had double bunks at that time.
You're right. We had four boys in one room.
Yeah.
And a deer head. A deer head in the corner, and everybody's afraid to touch the eyeballs, which were glass.
Yeah.
Okay, so we spend 4 years in Cedarburg, or 6 years rather. Then we moved to Whitefish Bay, and Why did you move to Whitefish Bay?
Well, Mark was due to go to high school.
Oh yeah, Mark got everything, didn't he?
Yes,
he
he
got to
did.
stay with the DMX
That was very important.
for 8th grade.
Well, he was a good student,
Yes, he was a good boy.
and so we realized that some, not all of you were going to different high schools or colleges, rather,
Yeah.
and so we got better schooling. Schooling was crowded. I mean those babies that were being born
Yeah.
were all going and doing the same thing. They needed schools, and they were really crowded.
Mm-hmm.
And David was having problems reading, and the teacher said, "I have so many in my class, I can't really help him."
Hmm.
So I figured I'm going someplace where
Which is a good move.
we can get help. You do what you have to do.
Yeah. So then we lived the next bunch of years in Whitefish Bay. What comes to your memory most of all about Whitefish Bay, except besides living next to Grandma?
It was fun. No, it was good. The schools were good. The kids were making progress. They were going off to college.
And when did you get Triangle Color, the paint company?
Oh, your dad would come home and say the craziest things. And somebody he knew, somebody's wife, was doing this and making artist watercolors. So would I like to do it? She was selling it. I did, and I said I had it for a while. But and then he said, "Well, do you want a baby lion for a couple of days? Why not?" I mean, it just one morning all 5 of you came down with mumps,
Oh.
and I was 9 plus days of pregnancy,
Hmm.
and you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Life is like that.
Easter, everybody got new shoes, and it was it was a chore for your dad and me to buy seriously 7 pairs of shoes, and you- I had you put them on the way down the basement because that's where we put our shoes. That was in the old farmhouse.
Yeah.
And something else lived down there because when we put our shoes on, nobody had any shoelaces.
Oh. All right, real briefly, the thing to remember about the farmhouse is that there was an old, now first of all, this was pre-Civil War when it was built. And there was down in the basement, there were toilets. But they're not toilets, they're just like outhouse, a wooden plank where people could sit.
Oh, were there? I never went down.
Yes, it was right in the basement in one of the rooms. And I'm pretty sure that's original to the house, before they had any kind of plumbing.
Well, it was indoor plumbing.
And of course that's also the same house where Mark had the tree that went down in the windstorm. When he's putting his bike away back in the barn. So lots of memories from that place. The Whitefish Bay.
Well, Mark got scratched by a lion.
Yeah, that was in Cedarburg.
Yeah.
Lots of little events going on with us kids. How did you deal with that? Growing, your kids one thing after another.
Of course it is. It's raising children.
Yeah.
The doctor would call and say, I did this, because I'd sent somebody over all of it by themselves.
Mhm.
And he'd tell me what the deal was, and you decided to do some jumping with your bike, and it came down on your face. So he scrubbed your face?
Yes. And David had some kind of accident where he had the bike all the way to the doctor's
Yeah.
with a head full of blood. And
But-
Mark with a horseshoe on his head and all kinds of wacky stuff.
But that's raising children.
Yeah.
My dad was in England, and they had outhouses along the alley, and I think I don't know what they call it, paddy wagon or something wagon, would come and lift a door and empty the outhouses. And in between that, the kids would go and when their sister was in the outhouse, they'd throw stones. I mean, you grow up with what you got.
Yeah. All right, so real quickly, let me run through a few things. So so he did Fuller Brush when he first got back. Then he did selling vacuums, right?
He did what?
Didn't he sell vacuums?
No, he didn't.
No, okay.
No, just the
I have an obsession with vacuums.
Fuller
I used to
Brush.
cry every time we turn on the vacuum cleaner.
No, he was great because he actually there were a lot of FBI agents in our complex, and they wanted him in the FBI. He was accepted as a possibility, and he got pericarditis.
Yeah, so they wouldn't let him
almost, yeah, but I remember coming home. My mother was in one hospital, and I had been visiting her. I would take you in the playpen and Mark, and then drive over and be with my mother during the day because she was dying, and she had cancer, and they just stoked her. But I was on my way home. I didn't think I was stressed, but I heard this terrible noise and I went a little faster. And this is the city streets. And the officer said, "Do you realize how fast you were going?" And he said, "I have no idea." And I sat there and I gave him my sad story. And he said, "Okay, now you're going to go home." And he outlined what I was going to do when I got home. But you do have what you have to do, because that's it. If you have no help, and I can't say I didn't have help. I had all these people that the boys played poker to figure out who's going to take me in to have the baby. And the loser got the...
Is that when Dad was in the hospital?
Yeah. And my mother.
Yeah. Okay. Anything left over for Whitefish Bay? Anything interesting?
No, all just bored.
Oh yeah, so Whitefish Bay, from my memory, Pat on her first day of school walks right through the school and gets lost in the city.
You did?
And what else happened in Whitefish Bay? Well, that's where that's our main years of most of our lives, I think, as the kids.
Oh, he bought me that plant. He bought me I made artist watercolors. And I was on my way with Mark.
And that's Triangle Colors.
I was on my way with Mark in the car, and they were working on the freeway, and it was the off-ramp. And the car that Donald bought me so I could get down to work, I could have told you what the weather was, because I could see it under the hole in the floor.
Oh.
And I was on the off-ramp, and that shift, they had a floor shift, and it just broke. And stop traffic coming down from the north side. They had to get a special something to pull me backward to get out. And so all afternoon after I got home, I got a call saying, "Joanne, what were you doing stopping traffic on the freeway?"
Is that when the accident where you damaged the car?
No, 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 but your dad was there. You don't do anything disastrous alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone there if it's a good marriage.
Yeah.
There's someone there to catch you, to push you,
Yeah.
to tell you what to do. And when I creamed it was a Mazda, and I hit the cement. I don't know what they call them, but they put them on the roads to
Barrier.
keep you in your lane. And I hit that, came back out, and sat there for a second, and watched somebody hit my car and get crumpled.
That's too bad. Well, good thing you survived.
Huh?
It's a good thing you survived.
Yes. I can hear people screaming. I can hear. I mean, there was a. Yeah, it was an overpass, and it had frozen,
Mm-hmm.
and so the traffic coming south was already in the formation of traffic. It was a mess, and I created one on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But that I don't know what happened to my car, and I didn't even ask.
Yeah.
Your dad took care of it. He was there,
Yeah.
and that's what a good marriage is.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody doesn't bawl you out because you hit the brakes and when it was icy.
Yeah.
Um, but he knew that I was okay,
Good.
and he took care of it, and got me another car.
Okay, so now you're in what, your 90s, and you look over your life. What are the things you're most proud of?
I'm proud of the whole thing. I'm proud of everyone. You can't, to me, you cannot have 7 children and have one favorite, or get more attention, or be loved more, or it works together. You and your brothers and sisters may at any point during your growing up, you would feel like you were the worst kid in the block.
I was, but yes.
Yeah, yeah, and but when you look back on it, yeah, you were having trouble, and as a parent, you try to figure out what the heck this child is doing or why he's doing it, and you try to work it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it doesn't work the way you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
But when somebody marries somebody that doesn't fit, you don't celebrate the fact that they're breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
You try to keep it even. And maybe they're having problems with their marriage. You can't do anything about it, but you can be there to hear.
Do you have any special moments that just stand out?
I don't think so. I mean, certainly that you celebrate the fact that this is happening or that's happening. But I mean, all these grandchildren, I'm so proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one that's flying an airplane for Delta. I've got one that's he on his spare time goes overseas and puts gasoline in the smaller planes. They're doing the battle, but I can't help him do that. I can maybe I'm too old and could go and babysit, but you hope that they do a good job with what they're doing. One has a child that needs some extra help just living. So he stayed in the Navy after 40 years.
Okay.
And so they got the help of the Navy to give his daughter. That's what's good about being old. You look back and think that one did a real good job with the problem that she had. One of the girls got mixed up with something or another with her building, and she's working to get art in schools, because she knows, and she worked for 14 years without a contract, not getting any money, teaching art so her children could go to school and learn, and the kids around her. That's what you look back on.
Yeah.
Not occasions, but what are they doing?
Yeah.
Mark is a doctor, and he's not in practice anymore, but he's going in and helping out in something or another every Wednesday. That's you've been successful. Your dad was proud of all of you.
Yeah.
He didn't say, boy, I've got a boy that's doing this or a girl's doing that. I mean, we have a daughter that has a daughter is brilliant in music.
Yeah.
Well, they have enough money that they can take her and send her over to Zurich and put her at school over there after she passed from the school here in Wisconsin. If she had needed help, we would have helped out. But you help when you can, but you don't run in and say, hey, let's do this, this.
Yeah.
You let somebody figure out what the problem is. And they can. We've had divorces. Divorces have been wonderful. Cindy's divorce gave her a man who helped her kids tremendously. And we have different religions. And everybody accepts the fact that somebody is a Mormon or somebody else is a Catholic. Your dad came home one day and he said, I'm coming to church with you on Sundays. And I said, why? And he said, oh, I've been studying and I'm a Catholic.
Oh.
He didn't say, I think I'll be a Catholic, or I'm going to be a Catholic because you are awful. That was his decision.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about it.
It's as boring as it is.
No, it's very good. Anything else you want to add to it?
Pardon?
Anything else you want to add? Last minute? Okay. No, that's very good, Mother. Thank you very much.
You're very rich.